I'm a business owner in another country with very strict libel laws. If you say something bad about someone, it doesn't matter if it's true or not and it costs them money, they can sue you. It's the law in my country and people get sued for it a lot. Just to give an example, if you are a man and you are cheating on your wife and I tell your boss, this man is cheating on his wife and your boss fires you, you can sue me since you lost your job because of me, even though it is true that you are cheating on your wife. Stupid law, I know. So I own a bar, and my bar is very successful. I try to take care of my customers, and I'm always there making sure my staff are doing a good job. I also always have events and parties as these things help make the bar more successful. So, not too long ago, I moved my bar to a better location and shortly after the bar owner across the street started to threaten me. She said I was telling people she had illegal people work for her, that she was doing human trafficking, and that she was ripping people off. I didn't know any of this. I don't even know her. I am busy. I got a bar. I got a family, and I got a normal job too. Then one day she sends me a message and says I need to pay her $25,000 or she will sue me. The $25,000 was less than what the court would make me pay. But I'm angry because I don't know why I need to pay $25,000 for something I didn't do. I think she was just mad at my success. My boyfriend, who is American, told me I should speak to a lawyer. It was very stressful. I just want to do my business and live a happy life. I don't want to fight over stupid stuff. But after a few weeks of her texting me demanding I pay her money, I went to a lawyer. The lawyer told me that I can sue her for blackmail and she can sue me for saying bad things about her. I told my lawyer I didn't say good or bad things about her. I don't even know her. My lawyer then says, that's fine because she will have to prove you said bad things about her, and if you proved you didn't say them, then she can't win. And you, on the other hand, can prove she tried to blackmail you. If she wants money out of you for saying bad things about her, then she needs to sue you, not blackmail you. So I sue her. It took a long time, very long time. Over 1 year, in fact, lots of paperwork, lots of back and forth. The waiting was very stressful. I was pulling out my hair. I'm just glad my boys kept me happy and focused. And then the day comes and we go in front of the judge. Judge said that she can't prove I said anything bad about her, and since she can't prove I said anything bad, she gets nothing. Judge then told me that I need to get paperwork showing how much money I pay my lawyer. I was smart and I brought it with me. My lawyer was very expensive. Judge then asked how much money my business made. I told the judge and I also brought proof. The judge then ordered her to pay 10% of my whole year's revenue because of her trying to blackmail me. 10% was a lot of money, a lot more than $25,000, so she had to sell her bar to pay me. I was so happy, but you see, she had a problem. She couldn't sell her bar. No one wanted to buy it because many people say my bar put her bar out of business, so why do they want to buy it? And even when they gave her a price, it was a very low one and not enough to pay me or give her enough money to do something else. So I told her, let's make a deal. You give me your bar and we say everything is even. She said, that's too much money, so I promised to pay her a little bit every month as a rent and she agreed because she had no choice. So I ended up buying her bar. I got it for a very good price because she had to pay me and she had no money. So I took her bar and turned it into a restaurant which is also doing good. Now I have a good bar, a good restaurant, and I'm happy again. I've lived in the Los Feliz area for 10 years now. I came to La from Oregon to attend college. I never did finish college, but I did meet my husband here. I'm 34 now. My husband, Jim, 41, and I run a small craft store. We also play music in a band. Jim is also an architect part-time. Neither the store nor the band earn a lot of money, but it's enough. We mostly depend on Jim's architect job. Still, we could use more income, so we decided to take on a tenant in our house. We bought a 2-bedroom bungalow where one of the bedrooms actually has its own private entrance. My husband made alterations to make it its own small apartment since it already had a private bathroom. It didn't initially have a shower, but my husband built one for it. There was no proper kitchen, but my husband fashioned a little nook where he installed a mini fridge, hot plate, and microwave. Over the past 4 years, we had a couple of really nice tenants, usually college students who stayed for their year-long lease, then moved on. Everyone paid their rent on time and didn't ruin the room. Kevin was a different matter. Kevin was this 30-year-old bartender who worked at a local club. He seemed clean-cut and like he wouldn't cause any trouble, and since he was older than the college students we had before, we assumed he would be even more responsible. We couldn't have been more wrong. After about 4 months that passed without incident, suddenly Kevin began to be a terrible tenant. He'd play music really loud late at night and make our neighbors call the police. We live in a quiet neighborhood. He'd bring home women, which is his right because it's his home and he's paying, but they'd talk super loudly late into the night and drink out on the porch and once again cause neighbors to call the police because they just wouldn't shut up. I talked to Kevin about it and he laughed in my face. He kind of had a different attitude toward my husband when my husband confronted him about it because Jim would break this guy's jaw. But even though Kevin apologized a few days later, he'd go right back to doing it. He also got into the habit of smoking marijuana on the porch and would smoke so much of it that the neighbors would once again complain. He would pay his rent, but instead of paying it on the first of the month as one might expect, he was often late by several days or would ask favors from us that we would take half the rent on the first, the other half on the 15th to coincide with his paydays. He would often pretend to have paid and claim that he left the check under our door when that was clearly a lie. We accommodated him and tried to be patient. He was only on a 6-month lease, so after those 6 months, my husband told him he had to leave. Kevin complained that we were being racist against him. Kind of weird seeing as how we are all white in this story, but Kevin has convinced himself that he's black. Anyways, he said he'd move out, but that we had to give him time. That's fair enough. We gave him all the legal papers that said he had to vacate within a certain number of days. At the end of that time, he still wasn't gone, and he didn't look like he had plans to leave. He would rant about squatters' rights and all that. This whole time, he would continue to play loud music, smoke weed outside, bring home his friends, and talk loudly late into the night and make a nuisance of himself. Finally, after 6 months had passed and he had been staying half a year without paying us a cent, he moved out. My husband and I learned our lesson. He knocked down the wall he built, and now we live in a 2-bedroom small house again, to ourselves. But Kevin didn't leave in good order. He snuck out because he knew he owed us several months of rent. He left no forwarding address. He stopped answering texts. What he did leave was a huge mess. He also stole a nice Keurig coffee machine that we put in his apartment for his use, and he also stole the mini fridge and microwave. He left the hot plate, but he pretty much destroyed that too because it looked like he tried cooking drugs on it. It looked like he picked up most of his personal stuff, but his clumsy, sloppy self didn't check behind all of his little nooks and crannies, and we saw he had abandoned lots of his little drug paraphernalia. We boxed up all of these little items in a single box and labeled it with his name in case he ever wanted to claim them. My husband also went to the local courthouse to see about filing small claims on Kevin, but we didn't even know where he lived now. My husband isn't a narc type who snitches, bless his heart. He was of the opinion, oh, this is a learning experience, let's do differently from now on. But I'm not that way, and I don't want to get ripped off without a bit of revenge. Kevin never really told us exactly which bar he works at because he's a lying little weasel, but in his loud conversations late at night while he's off talking like he's Charles friggin' Barkley, I overheard him name the bar he worked at. So one day, about 5 days after Kevin left, I drove over there and asked about him to the people who work there. I don't let on that I'm one of his former landlords. The new bartender girl assumes that I'm some sort of jilted lover and I roll with it. She empathizes with me, and in talking about what a jerk Kevin is, she lets me know that the whole time he's been in the LA area, he's been going to school to become a licensed vocational nurse. I told her that he blocked me on social media. No problem, she tells me. She whips out her phone and shows me his profile, which is set to private, but she is friends with him on social media. I see that he moved to Nevada and is now practicing as an LVN at a clinic. I thank the girl and go home. Now that I know where he works, I call the clinic and casually confirm that Kevin indeed works there. My guess is that Kevin probably had to take a drug test to get his job, but he still had friends over at his place doing lots of illegal stuff. Or maybe he borrowed someone else's urine. Who knows? I find out the name of his supervisor, and once again calling the clinic, pretending to be a customer, I casually confirm that this man is Kevin's boss. I then take the box of Kevin's stuff with all of his drug paraphernalia in it to the local police station, with the explanation that Kevin used to be a tenant of mine and my husband's, but that he abandoned his quarters and also this box of his personal effects. I look like a friggin' kindergarten teacher, and to the cop, it's obvious I have no idea what any of this stuff is. I tell the police I have no idea of Kevin's forwarding address, just his address of employment, and oh, I even have the number of his boss. I don't know how these things work, officer. Could you handle it? Of course, miss, that's our job. So, a month later, my husband and I are still out a Keurig and 6 months of unpaid rent from Kevin. But I kept calling the clinic again, pretending to be a relative and asking, may I speak to Kevin? Oh, Kevin doesn't work here anymore. Didn't he tell you? He got fired? Sheesh. This secretary kind of overshares, but it works out in my favor here. I also found out by talking to that officer again that the marijuana wasn't such a big deal, but that the possession of the hard drug paraphernalia was a big misdemeanor. My husband, who knows about what I did by this time and is fully on board, comes with me to the station, and we sign an affidavit regarding what we know about all the stuff in the box. They had contacted Kevin, and under pressure from the police in ours and in his new state, he finally admitted that the items were his, after, of course, trying at first to lie and claim that the drug items were mine and my husband's. This jerk! So now the misdemeanors are on his permanent record, rendering him unemployable in his field. We also found out his address, and he was served with papers for small claims court for several months' worth of rent, theft, and damages. He was a no-show. Automatic victory for us. My husband and I went to the bar where Kevin used to work, and since she recognized me, the new bartender girl gave me a big hug. I admitted to her that I wasn't a girlfriend of Kevin's, but that he was a tenant who screwed over my husband and I. The girl thought that what I did was great to get him busted. Speaking of busted, he was charged with possession at his new apartment and is in jail now.